0. Understanding Job, Mega Themes. A. The Bible book introductions are divided into 4 parts: overview, vital statistics, blueprint, mega themes, for easy to understand. 1. Mega themes. At 1. Theme, suffering. A. Explanation. Through no fault of his own, Job lost his wealth, children, and health. Even his friends were convinced that Job had brought this suffering upon himself. For Job, the greatest trial was not the pain or the loss, it was not being able to understand why God allowed him to suffer. B. Importance. Suffering can be, but is not always, a penalty for sin. In the same way, prosperity is not always a reward for being good. Those who love God are not exempt from trouble. Although we may not be able to understand fully the pain we experience, it can lead us to rediscover God. At 2. Theme, Satan's attacks. A. Explanation. Satan attempted to drive a wedge between Job and God by getting Job to believe that God's governing of the world was not just and good. Satan had to ask God for permission to take Job's wealth, children, and health away. Satan was limited to what God allowed. B. Importance. We must learn to recognize and fear Satan's attacks because Satan cannot exceed the limits that God sets. Don't let any experience drive a wedge between you and God. Although you can't control how Satan may attack, you can always choose how you will respond when it happens. At 3. Theme, God's goodness. A. Explanation. God is all-wise and all-powerful. His will is perfect, yet he doesn't always act in ways that we understand. Job's suffering didn't make sense because everyone believed good people were supposed to prosper. When Job was at the point of despair, God spoke to him, showing him his great power and wisdom. B. Importance. Although God is present everywhere, at times he may seem far away. This may cause us to feel alone and to doubt his care for us. We should serve God for who he is, not what we feel. He is never insensitive to our suffering. Because God is sufficient, we must hold on to him. At 4. Theme, Pride. A. Explanation. Job's friends were certain that they were correct in their judgment of him. God rebuked them for their pride and arrogance. Man's wisdom is always partial and temporary, so undue pride in our own conclusions is sin. B. Importance. We must be careful not to judge others who are suffering. We may be demonstrating the sin of pride. We must be cautious in maintaining the certainty of our conclusions about how God treats us. When we congratulate ourselves for being right, we become proud. At 5. Theme, Trusting. A. Explanation. God alone knew the purpose behind Job's suffering, and yet he never explained it to Job. In spite of this, Job never gave up on God, even in the midst of suffering. He never placed his hope in his experience, his wisdom, his friends, or his wealth. Job focused on God. B. Importance. Job showed the kind of trust we are to have. When everything is stripped away, we are to recognize that God is all we ever really had. We should not demand that God explain everything. God gives us himself, but not all the details of his plans. We must remember that this life, with all its pain, is not our final destiny.